What interesting facts about the English language can we learn from the objects in this picture? What can Santa Claus, a cafeteria, a dictionary, an old saying, and a secret code teach us about our language? To find out, let's begin with Santa Claus. Santa Claus, as nearly all of you know, is an imaginary character who makes a magical trip on Christmas Eve to leave gifts around the tree. But where did the name Santa Claus come from? The early Dutch settlers who came to America and settled in New York after 1624 brought the idea of Santa with them. Young Dutch children listened intently to stories of Sint Klaas, the Dutch words for St. Nicholas. In the New World, as in Holland, the mythical Sint Klaas visited their homes each year to bring gifts. As I drew in my head and was turning around, down the chimney St. Nicholas came with a bound. These words from the well-known poem, A Visit from St. Nicholas, were written by Clement C. Moore about 2 centuries after the Dutch brought Sint Klaas to America. Although Moore's famous St. Nicholas did everything Santa does today, the poem contains no mention of Santa Claus by name. American authors like Henry Wadsworth Longfellow and James Fenimore Cooper were the first to use the name Santa Claus in their writings. But then, not until after 1823. Thus, it took nearly 200 years for the Dutch Sint Klaas to become our present-day Santa Claus. From the name Santa Claus, then, we see that some English words are modifications of foreign words, which, as they change, take on new meanings. Let's look into another example of this, the word cafeteria. We use cafeteria to describe a self-service restaurant. Most authorities agree that this word originates with café, the Spanish word for coffee. To learn how café became cafeteria, let's look at the life history of the word. The word cafetera, meaning coffee pot, was created from café by the Spanish people many years ago. Then, about 200 years ago, someone on the Spanish Mediterranean seacoast opened a serve-yourself coffee shop. Here, a pot of coffee was kept warm all day long. Customers poured their own coffee, and the owner never had to move except to refill the coffee pot. In time, people began to call this shop and others like it cafeteras, after the bubbling coffee pot it offered.
Mira quién llegó.
Hola, hola, ¿qué tal, amigo? Ven y siéntate con nosotros aquí en la cafetería.
The Spaniards who settled in California in the 1850s brought the idea of the cafetera with them. However, as you can see from the sign in this picture, the word had changed slightly to cafeteria. By the 1880s, self-service restaurants began to appear in America, but there was no particular name for them. This picture shows such a restaurant in New York City in about 1880. Another self-service restaurant opened in Chicago during the World's Fair of 1893. It was the first to be called a cafeteria, spelled in English C-A-F-E-T-I-R-I-A. Hundreds of cafeterias appeared in the United States after 1900, and the spelling changed to its present form. Thus, from the name cafeteria, we have seen how the Spanish word cafetera and the idea of self-service restaurants traveled across the ocean and through the years to meet in mid-America and give our language a new word. From the first two objects in our opening frame, we have learned how special customs and ideas and foreign words combine to give us two modern English words. Now, what can a dictionary, the third item in the picture, teach us about our language? Dictionaries, of course, tell us many things about the origins of words. But the dictionary itself has an interesting story that teaches us something about the difference between British and American English. This is how the dictionary came to be. About 1,000 years ago, during the Middle Ages, monks made and created the forerunner of the dictionary. They hand-lettered lists of Latin words, but the lists were more like spelling books than dictionaries. Finally, an Englishman named Nathaniel Bailey prepared and printed the first true English dictionary. This happened in 1721, 11 years before George Washington was born. Mr. Bailey's book explained how to pronounce words. It also included pictures to help people understand what such an uncommon thing as an elephant was. Finally, Dr. Samuel Johnson, a British scholar, wrote the first modern English dictionary in 1755. Johnson's dictionary looked like this. It was similar to the dictionary we use today. While it was used widely in England, Americans of later generations couldn't use it too well, since there were great differences of pronunciation and meaning between the English used in the British Isles and American English. Noah Webster, an American scholar, decided to correct the situation and completed the first important American English dictionary in 1828. In this book, Mr. Webster defined words as they were used in American spelling to replace British spelling. And an outgrowth of his dictionary is today regarded as an authority for word definitions. Although dictionaries help us learn about the origins and meanings of words, only experience teaches us how to use words effectively. Now we're ready to find out what we can learn from the fourth object in our beginning picture, the old saying, "Too many cooks spoil the broth." This is a proverb, a group of words that implies more than the actual meaning of the words. This proverb, like all proverbs, offers advice or teaches us a lesson. Too many cooks spoil the broth tells us that when too many people work on the same job, it may not turn out well because each worker gets in the way of the others. People all over the world use proverbs to express similar ideas. The Japanese say, "Too many captains will sail the ship up a mountain." This conveys the same idea as our proverb, "Too many cooks spoil the broth." The Italian proverb for this idea is, "With too many roosters crowing, the sun never rises." Here are some examples of using words effectively. They are phrases which make our speech more colorful by painting word pictures. Proud as a peacock. Fast as lightning. Good as gold. Let's hear two common expressions used to make our language more interesting as they are heard in a conversation between two boys.
Joe, if you aren't still angry, let's bury the hatchet and go to a movie.
Well, sure, Dan, but I've used up all my spending money and have only chicken feed in my pockets.
The last object of our picture is a code. Until now, we have been learning how man tries to express his ideas in clear and interesting ways. But codes will teach us how he sometimes tries to hide his words, ideas, and meanings. You will see also that some codes are not secret, but are merely different ways of communicating. A code is a form of communication written so that only those who know its secret can read the message. The secret of the code is called the key. This is the reverse or backward alphabet code. The key to the code runs across the center of the picture. Here, letters of the alphabet written backwards are placed over the alphabet as it is normally written. With this code, when you want to write the letter A, you use Z. For B, you write Y, and so on. In the word at the top, T stands for G, S for H, L for O, and HG for ST. On the bottom, you can see that our coded word is ghost. Julius Caesar, the famous Roman general who lived about 2,000 years ago, devised a code for sending secret information to his officers. For A, Caesar used D. For B, E, and so on throughout his alphabet, which was similar to ours. More than 300 years ago, a famous French statesman named Cardinal Richelieu worked out a clever code. First, he cut slots in a card. Then he placed the card over a sheet of paper and wrote messages in the openings. After that, he removed the card and wrote a letter to fill up the page. Only a person possessing a card cut with holes to match the cardinal's could read his private message. The innocent-looking letter becomes a secret message when a card with slots reveals the buried words. Now we will see that not all codes are secret ones. That was the sound of a message being sent in Morse code. The Morse code is an internationally known code used to send words by wire or radio. Different combinations of DAWs and DITs stand for letters of the alphabet. Here are two more ways of sending coded messages. The Navy signalman is using a semaphore signal flag to transmit a message in semaphore code. Each position in which he holds the flags represents a letter of the alphabet. The blinker light, often used on ships, sends a coded message with combinations of long and short flashes, which can be read by another person at a distance. We have learned some interesting facts about our 5 objects. Most of these facts emphasize the idea that words and meanings change. It is true that the word Santa Claus and the meanings of familiar mottos have not changed recently, but the meanings of the word cafeteria and dictionary and the significance of codes are continuing to change and in the future will continue to be applied in new ways. Let's look once more at the word cafeteria. This group of automated vending machines is referred to as a cafeteria. Here, one's food is supplied and heated by machines. Automation has helped change the meaning of this word over the past several decades. We will probably use the standard book-type dictionary for a long time to come. But already, dictionaries of an entire language are being compressed into small discs and recorded onto magnetic tape for use with computers. And many special dictionaries are being written to define the many new words of our fast-growing language. Computer dictionaries, dictionaries of slang, and numerous technical dictionaries. Space exploration has created the need for new systems of sending information to Earth. The instruments of space satellites like this surveyor pictured on the moon's surface pick up much valuable knowledge which is transmitted through very complicated codes to scientists on Earth. These changing times create new meanings for everyday words. Through the facts discussed here, we have attempted to bring you a few ideas on the backgrounds of our language. The next time you come upon an interesting word, try to find out what story lies behind it and possibly what its use might be in the future. Try to understand the richness of the wonderful language we speak and write every day. Even as we have come to the end of this film strip, we find there really is no ending. Language in the world is changing so quickly that by the time you have seen this film strip, new changes in some word or some meaning will have taken place. There really is no end. End.